Welcome to the Ivylearn Content Partner Series. Today's topic is how to set up your boat course using the Cengage Learning products. Delilah Wilson is our expert. She works for Cengage Learning and will be guiding us through this process. Please note that we will be offering a recording of this presentation again. It'll be automatically sent to you through your email, so no worries there. Delilah? Going to make you the presenter at this time, and thank you again for joining us. And Delilah, I can't quite hear any audio.
Okay, how about now?
Now I have you. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. So, hi everybody. As mentioned, my name is Delilah Wilson, and I work with Cengage Learning. And today we're going to be walking through the pairing process or course setup process for the boat 109. I'm sorry, for the boat courses at Ivy Tech. So, bear with me. I was trying to get up some documents. I'm going to start off with a couple of PowerPoint slides, and then we'll jump right into Ivylearn, talking about how you get your boat material set up. So as mentioned, the chat window is open and available. If you have questions during this presentation, feel free to type them into the chat, and I will be monitoring the chat to see if there are any questions that I need to pause and stop for. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the PowerPoint slides that I have available. All right, so first I want to just start off with providing you with my email address, which is delilah.wilson@cengage.com, as shown in the bottom right-hand corner. If you have any questions during your course setup process, or if you're running into any difficulty, feel free to reach out to me, and I can assist with those questions or concerns. As far as when the semester first starts, if you log in to your Ivylearn course shell and it's empty, that course for the boat courses, for the most part, I believe the boat courses that use the Cengage materials, they are all going to be the Include Ed courses, which are designated with the CAFE attribute, which basically means students have purchased those materials as part of their course fees or tuition. So those Include Ed courses, they're going to be loaded by central office. If you're teaching a non-Include Ed or a non-CAFE attribute class, typically those courses are imported from the Canvas Commons. But when I last checked, all of the boat courses, the boat 101, 114, 121, 109, etc., all those courses that use Cengage content, those are all CAFE courses. So with that being said, those courses should be loaded by central office. Regardless of who loads the initial content into your Ivylearn course shell, you're still going to have to go through this one-time course setup process. So your courses, they're going to be preloaded with Cengage publisher content, and it's going to require a one-time activation or setup that you'll have to go through at the beginning of the semester. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And also for the boat courses, they follow a competency-based format, which basically in those competency-based courses, students, they have to get an 80% or greater in order to move on to the next module. So we're going to be talking about the competency-based model for these courses and how your students navigate that model. what, if any, assignments require for you to manually grade versus the assignments that are automatically graded. Where can you go to for resources on how to grade those assignments? So we're going to be talking about that whole competency-based model in addition to how you get your course set up at the beginning of the semester. One thing to mention when you're setting up your course, if you've never set up a course before using Cengage materials within Ivylearn, you are going to need a Cengage account. If you set up a course in the past in Ivylearn, then you won't be prompted to put in your Cengage credentials again, but if this is your first time doing this, you do need a Cengage account. If you don't have a Cengage account, you can always reach out to me, Delilah.wilson@cengage.com. And also, you'll see when you're setting up your materials, if you don't have an account, you will have the option to request an account, but that can take a day or two, and just depending upon when you started the setup, you may need it a little bit sooner than that, so feel free to reach out to me. And again, we're going to be talking about that initial SAM pairing setup process. So for the different courses, like Boat 207 is a little bit different from Boat 216 versus 109. There are going to be different things that you're going to be doing throughout the semester as far as like maybe you have to manually grade something or what's automatically graded. So I'm going to be showing you where you can locate some of those common how-tos that you'll need to know for the boat courses. And if you're having technical issues, like let's say you're getting some type of error or something isn't working the way it should be working, maybe grades aren't syncing or something's locked and you can't quite figure it out, we do have the Cengage Instructor Technical Support line. So be sure to make note of this line, the number here at the 866-267-4986. This is for instructors, and when it comes to students, the number is 1-800-354-9706. And that student support is pretty much 24/7. We'll be talking about how students register for the Include Ed courses. They're not going to need an access code because they have already purchased pay for those materials as part of their course fee. So we'll be talking about registration today. But again, the student support number for those kind of technical issues is 1-800-354-9706. With that being said, we're just going to jump right in and talk about the pairing process. And I'm going to use the Boat 109 course as an example. Now, typically, as I mentioned, when you first enter into your course, you will see for the boat courses, there's typically in the Instructor Resources content, there's going to be instructions on how you get your course set up. So if I come out to this modules area, this is where I'm going to see all of the different modules or content for this course. And you'll notice that there's this specifically an Instructor Resources area that contains instructions for how you get set up. I also mentioned, and we'll come back to this a little bit later, how there are video tutorials in here for common how-tos. So for Boat 109, there may be times where you need to allow students another attempt on their Cengage SAM projects in this course. And just as an FYI, for those of you who are not familiar with Cengage SAM or Cengage MindTap, these are just online homework management systems that contain the electronic ebook for your course, and it also contains automatically graded assignments. And those assignments will vary by the course that you teach, but feel free to look at these common how-to videos. And I'll also point out there should be in the student side, like a student orientation video that you can watch to familiarize yourself with how your students interact with this course. All right, so the first thing you need to do as an instructor to ensure that the Cengage assignments are working for your students is you need to go through the pairing process. You'll notice that there is this video tutorial that you can watch that talks about how to pair. And if you were to watch that video, it's going to tell you that the first thing you need to do is to copy this instructor-only pairing key. This is only for you as the instructor for the purposes of setting up. You don't have to provide this to your students. So when you grab that pairing key, and this pairing key is going to be unique to each course. So the pairing key for Boat 109 is totally different from the pairing key for Boat 114. So make sure you grab the appropriate pairing key if you're teaching multiple courses. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this pairing key. And if I were to watch this video, it would tell me that for the Boat 109 courses, all of the Cengage SAM content for the different modules is going to be behind this combined module area here. You can see this indicates that this right here is for modules 1 through 6. So, and to access that Cengage content, I need to click here. And it's going to open this Cengage content up in the following frame here. Now, that video that's in the Instructor Resources, when it talks about the pairing process, it tells you to click on this little icon here, kind of looks like a hamburger. You're going to click on this icon, and you're going to go to the content. This is where you're going to locate the content for this particular course. When I click on the content, you'll see that I see all of the different, here's the ebook here, here's the pre-module, module 1, and etc. So all of the modules for that SAM content is located here. To initiate the pairing process, you have to click on an activity that is for Cengage SAM or Cengage MindTap. For the most part, most of you will be able to click on the ebook. This is typically the first module. The only exceptions, I believe, are the Boat 114 and the Boat 121. There is no ebook in Boat 114. And there is no MindTap ebook in Boat 114 and 121. There is, however, a Vital Source ebook, and that's typically going to be in your bookshelf, and you can always contact Central Office if you don't see the Vital Source book. But most of you will have this ebook link here. If you don't have the ebook, you'll probably have a pre-module. So just locating a Cengage activity, whether it's the ebook or in this case, I'm just going to go to the pre-module and click on this training. When I click on this, it's going to try to open this Cengage content. But since this is my first time as an instructor accessing this content from this course, you can see it's going to prompt for me to create a course in Cengage SAM. So this is how we start the pairing process. Now, if you can recall, because I know I've been doing a little bit of talking, I copied my course key, the instructor-only course key, and this is where that course key is going to come into play. I need to choose the option to copy a colleague's existing Cengage SAM course. And by colleague, this means the course developer created this course for you. So that's the content that you want to copy. And you can see when I choose that option, it asks for me to enter in a course key. I'm going to go ahead and paste that course key that I got out of the Instructor Resources from Ivylearn. And I just need to verify that this is the correct key. Again, you want to make sure you're grabbing the appropriate course key for the course that you're teaching. So this was the course key for Boat 109, and now I'm going to go ahead and name my course. You want to make sure you're using something that's not generic. For example, I wouldn't want to use Boat 109 because that's too generic, and that name may already be taken by another instructor, or maybe I called my course Boat 109 the first time I ever taught this course. So with that being said, I would put something more specific in here like Summer 2018, or if you're teaching more than one section, you can probably put, F1 in here for section 1. So whatever you need to do to make it more unique, go ahead and do that. The next thing you want to do is put your course start date. So I'm going to say my course, and you want to use your actual course start date. Don't worry about students getting in a couple of days ahead of time. They'll still be able to access the content a few days earlier, but just use your actual course start date. And For your course end date, some instructors, they like to push the course end date out by a couple of days, just in case you have some late students that, or maybe you will even need to get into that course for some final grading. So you can always push your course end date out by like a week or so. And now finally, I want to go ahead and put in my time zone, which most of you will be using Eastern time, and then you just simply click continue. All right, and then after I click continue, this course is going to be paired, all set up and ready to go. I do want to mention, which I don't think I pointed out, that this SAM content, you can see right here, here's Canvas in one tab, and here's SAM in another tab. So this tab, it's open in a new window. So this means that if you have any pop-up blockers on, it's going to prevent this content from launching or loading. So definitely make sure you are allowing pop-ups, typically in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. If a pop-up blocker prevented a page from opening, you're going to see some type of message that says Firefox prevented this page from opening, or Chrome prevented this. And sometimes it appears so quickly you don't necessarily see it. So be sure to look in your browser. If you clicked on something and it looks like it's not opening, it looks like it's not working, 99% of the time, if you click on something and nothing happens, it's because there is a pop-up blocker preventing that. So that's something important for you to know. And also, that's just good information for you to know when students are contacting you. If they say, hey, I tried to click on that Cengage content and nothing happened, then again, 99% of the time, it's a pop-up blocker. All right, so with that being said, technically this course is now ready for students to start accessing the Cengage SAM material. So most of the boat courses use Cengage SAM. The Boat 216 course uses Cengage MindTap. But again, the pairing process is the same for all of those courses. You just basically want to grab that course key, click on a Cengage SAM or MindTap link. It's going to prompt for you to create a course, and you copy from a colleague. Now, you'll notice, and I'm just going to backtrack, for Boat 216, that's going to be different, a little bit different. And I want to pull it up to actually show you. Well, actually, I'll show you in Boat 207. So you'll notice for the Boat 109 course, how the modules are, there's this combined module here for Cengage where it says modules 1 through 6. And I access all of the modules through this Start Here area. This is where I go, or where students go, to get out to this content area to start to access the modules. Versus a course like Boat 207 or Boat 216, where you can see how all of the modules are listed individually within Ivylearn. So here's the module 2, and then underneath it, there's the module 3. So if you see the modules broken out separately like this, then to initiate the pairing process, you're going to have to click on, there's typically this SAM homepage and report. The great thing about, depending upon the course that you're teaching, if you don't remember the instructions, there's always going to be this pairing video or some type of document to walk you through the appropriate steps for the course that you are teaching, okay? So even though you're attending this training today, there are specific course-specific setup instructions in each of the individual courses. Again, for Boat 119, for Boat 114, if I were to come into Boat 114, here's my course key. But then when I scroll down, I can see that modules 1 through 11, they're all under this Start Here to access Cengage SAM. Now, so that talks about the pairing process, just that initial setup that you have to do. If you do not go through that pairing process, when students attempt to access their materials for that course, for their different assignments, it's going to say, we're sorry, your instructor hasn't set up this course, contact your instructor. So that's why it's important for you to go through that pairing process. Otherwise, your students won't be able to take their assignment. Are there any questions on the pairing process before I proceed to some other course specifics that are unique to the BOAT competency-based courses? If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or to use the chat. Right now, I don't see any questions. So
actually, excuse me, Delilah,
yeah.
it looks like Piper has a comment or a question. It says, actually, the BOAT 216 modules are all together and you must access them at the same point.
For the BOAT 216?
Mm-hmm. Piper, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and turn on your microphone and then maybe you can clarify the question or statement for Delilah. Piper, go ahead.
And I'm looking in the BOAT 216 course. There you go. You're right. For BOAT 216, you're right. Here is the BOAT 216, all of the Cengage SAM content. You're correct. It is located in this one content area here. So you're correct. Thank you, Piper. All right. So as I mentioned, like the different courses, it's going to be different. And typically you'll find an instructor resources area that gives you specific video tutorials on how to get set up. All right, so after you get paired, I want to point out that the courses will also have some training videos, hopefully, for the instructors. Some have more than others, just depending upon how much you're going to be doing in the course. So, for example, I know like the BOAT 114, which has a lot of manually graded assignments. So let me try to back to BOAT 114. All right, so the BOAT 114 courses, it talks about how to grade the CBE courses. How to grade the learning object activities. And then it talks about how you can delete learning object activities and how you can view the student progress. So there are some different videos just depending upon the course that you're teaching, because again, all of these courses are slightly different and we don't have enough time on the webinar to go through every different scenario. So definitely be sure to reference this instructor resources area. And then also, most of the competency-based courses have what's called this grading guide. If you'll notice, there's this instructor grading guide, and I was trying to download it earlier, but let me try to download it again. So these grading guides, it just kind of basically walks through what activity is manually graded, which activities are automatically graded, and this will kind of let you as the instructor know. This will let you as the instructor know what you should be focusing on as far as when you need to grade something and when you don't need to grade something. And it's just not opening up in my Excel. So I may not be able to open it because, I don't know, my Excel is just not opening up this document. But as you can see, it's in here. It's not the greatest preview right here, but you'll be able to come in here and it'll tell you for each module, this is what you need to grade. This is where you go to access that assignment to grade it. This grading guide does a great job of pointing out which assignments you need to grade. And if you are still having trouble, if there is an assignment that you need to manually grade, you're typically going to find a video tutorial in here as well. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the student registration process and also how they advance through the different modules with that whole 80% requirement. So within Ivylearn, there is a student view that you can access that will allow for you to explore your course from the student's perspective. I'm going to go ahead and go out to my settings area within Ivylearn, and you'll notice that there's this student view right here. And actually, I'm going to reset it and come back into it so that you can see the true student experience. Okay, so when students come into your course, when they're ready to start to access their materials for Cengage SAM, or in the case of Boat 216, it's Cengage MindTap, they are going to come out to this Start Here to access Cengage SAM. And there may even be some video trainings in here for students for the different types of assignments. So for example, for Boat 109, they're taking trainings, exams, and projects. Those are the primary types of assignments students are going to interact with. And you'll see that there's this little link that they can access to watch videos on what a training looks like and how they complete that versus an exam or project. I'm going to go ahead and click this Start Here to access Cengage SAM. So when you're an instructor, you kind of have to do an extra click to come out to this area here to see the modules, but for the students, you can see it just takes them directly into the modules. And this right here is called the Learning Path. These competency-based courses, they kind of use this program called Learning Objects, which allows for the whole 80% adaptive release. You'll also notice for students when they come in, some modules are open versus other modules are locked. And you can see for the students which modules are locked because when they hover, if a student hovers his or her mouse over that activity, it has this locked icon. And it also tells the student, you can see this message pops open indicating that an 80% on the module 1, creating a presentation assessment project is required before I can move on to this module 2. So these first couple of modules, they're typically open. This particular course that I'm viewing, it hasn't been updated, but most of the courses are also going to contain like this Getting Started module, and that Getting Started module is before the ebook, and it has like a video in there talking to the students about what the whole competency-based approach is about and how they have to get an 80%, how they unlock modules, and there's also like a brief little orientation quiz in that Getting Started module. So I do apologize that you don't see it here, but when you go in to set up your courses and you explore as a student, you'll see that there's going to be a Getting Started module. So definitely feel free to explore that. It's going to also cover what we're talking about today. So let's go into a module. And again, I'm just keeping this very generic because each course is slightly different. But when a student clicks into a module for these competency-based courses, and again, you can see all of this is kind of done within this little frame here, which is the Learning Objects frame. So when students come out into this module, there's typically like this little welcome area that tells the students, these are the learning objectives for this module. This is what you're going to be learning. And it talks about the whole, how the 80% progression works. And then the students, they can move on to the next activity, which is the Show What You Know. And I'm going to click back on here so you can have a high-level overview. So there's the welcome, then there's the Show What You Know. And then for this particular course, there are these different activities for each learning objective. So there's a training and this practice exam. Now, I do want to point out that since this is a competency-based course, students, they aren't required to complete these trainings because they may already know this content. The only required activity would be the final assessment project here. And this is the activity that students need to complete in order to get that 80% or above in order to proceed to the next module. Now, for this particular course, this just so happens to be a Cengage SAM project. And again, if this is your first time teaching, you're probably wondering, how do I know if it's SAM? How do I know if it's MindTap? There is going to be, that's where that grading guide comes into place, that document that I referenced, because it'll tell you what type of activity it is and whether or not you need to grade something. I'm going to pause because I see it says there's a question here asking, can you tell me where I can find, let's see. Can you tell me where to find the keys to grade the longer writing activities for Boat 216? So for Boat 216, I will be sure to speak with my colleague who focuses on the Boat 216 courses, because I'm not sure where those keys would be located. And I'm going to get that information, and I'll be sure to provide it to central office, and they can send out a notice, or as a post-training, as part of this training, they can send it up as a post-training follow-up. So I will work on an answer for that, because with the Boat 216 course, that's not a course that I helped to develop. But I will let you know where that could be located. I'm trying to think, but if I were to guess, and we can just check really quickly. So most of our textbooks have a Cengage companion site, like an instructor resource site, where you can locate the different resources. Okay. Where you can locate the different resources for your textbooks. So I'm going to see for the Boat 216 if the resources that you're looking for are on. Just bear with me one moment. Trying to remember which book. So if you go directly to login.cengage.com, that's the instructor. This is where you can access the instructor companion site for your different textbooks. So I want to log in with my instructor Cengage credentials, and I believe the Boat 16 uses the Guffey Business Communications textbook. And so let's see. So you should already have, if you've already gone through the pairing process, you'll typically see that book already loaded to your account. And I've loaded or paired quite a bit of books, and that's why I have all of these different options. I will have to, so that I'm not spending a lot of time trying to locate the instructor resources, I will follow back up. But if this is the textbook on this companion site, again, there's typically all of these, like, there should be like solution guides on here, but I will find out for certain, and I will get back to you for business communication because I'm not 100% sure. Did somebody come off of mute?
Thank you, Delilah. We appreciate that. I'll make sure that you have Piper's email address to reach back out to her.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get back to the whole student view for the Boat 109 courses. So as I mentioned, there are these different activities in here, and students, they typically, for the assessment project, this is going to be the only required activity where students have to achieve the 80% or greater in order to move on to the next module. And this is going to be automatically graded but for the business communication or for some of like the Boat 114 courses, some of those courses are heavily manually graded. So you're going to have to manually grade those activities. And again, there's a video that shows you how to do that. Now, one of the great things about the instructor side of things, if you have a student that contacts you that's indicating that they're trying to open up a module and it's still locked for them, and you want to verify if that student can proceed on to the next module or not, I'm going to go ahead and leave this student view, and I'm going to return back to the instructor view. So when you're in the instructor view and you're on this screen here, and again, you get to this page here just by clicking on the start here. So by clicking on this combined module, and once you're here in this learning objects platform, you can always click on this learners area, and this is going to show you your students who's gone in, who started to access the different activities. But there's also, if you click on a student's name, you can preview this course as that student, and then you're able to see their different modules. So I can see that for this particular module 1, the student has gone in and they started to complete preview some materials. So this student has previewed 20% of the activities in this particular module. But I can also see that these modules here are not locked for the student. So this is a great way if a student's saying, hey, module 3 is locked for me, I can't get in, you can easily just click on that student's name and preview the modules as the student to see where their progress is. There's also for these Cengage SAM or these Cengage SAM or Cengage activities that you grade, if it's automatically graded, you'll also be able to come out to the grade book within this Learning Objects platform to see any student's progress. I'm just going to click on this little X to leave this preview for this student, but if I click on this hamburger icon here, I'll see that there is a grade book here. So for the automatically graded assignments, those grades are going to come for the student automatically into the module grade books. And this grade book here for the Cengage Learning Objects or SAM content is totally different from the grade book within Ivylearn. So if you do have a student, they say I got an 80% on module 2, you can always come out here to this grade book here to view your student's total grade for that module to see if indeed a grade did show up, and then that can help you determine if the next module should be unlocking or not. Now there may be times for the SAM courses where you may need to see specifically how a student did on a project, or a student may need to see specifically how did they perform on a project, especially if it's one of those projects for like the office application courses. They may want to know what steps they get right or wrong, and you may also want to know that information as well. So if that's the case, as the instructor or even students, when you're on this learning path area here, and as the instructor, you get there just by clicking on this hamburger icon and clicking content. But when you're on this area, for the learning path, if you scroll to the very bottom, students and instructors, you both have access to the SIM reports area. And this is going to allow for you to get out to the SIM homepage. And on the SIM homepage, you'll be able to go out to your results area to access the different graded reports for your different assignments. So it just really depends on, and I don't have any students who submitted projects in here, but I would be able to click on this view report, and then I can click on their grade, and it's going to download that submitted project. Again, you're going to be able to locate video tutorials on how to do this, but I'm just letting you know it is possible to see how students performed on their different graded projects that are automatically graded. And if you have to manually grade, again, there should be instructions in the Instructor Resources that show you how to do that. Finally, I want to point out, we talked about a little bit earlier how students can get to how they can call into the 1-800 number. Well, if someone is pressed for time and they don't have time to call in on a phone number, there's also this link for the Cengage technical support. This is typically the last module that students can click on that will allow for them to access this ticket system where they can file an online ticket. It gives them a case number and a telephone number if they want to call at a later time to reference that case number. So this concludes the pairing process. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked by the one question that I don't have an answer to, but I'm going to work on obtaining an answer and following up with that. But are there any additional questions on how you set up, where you can access some of those different video tutorials? Again, that's going to be in the Instructor Resources for some of those course-specific video tutorials. So are there any additional questions at this point in time? If there are no additional questions, I'm going to just turn it back over to the host.
Delilah, it doesn't look like we do have any questions coming in at this time. I want to thank you again for your expertise and for your willingness to follow up with Piper regarding her question. Again, just an excellent presentation, and we always appreciate your time. With that said, I will go ahead and end the webinar for everyone. Have a great day, and we'll definitely see you next time.
All right, thank you.